Do you want to learn how to create a simple day-night cycle like you see here? Let's find out. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what we're doing to achieve this effect in a simple and still customizable way, and you're still able to add in things like sunset, sunrise. If you want to add more times of the day, you can easily do that with very little modification. Alright, so for this I just have a node 2D for my default. I'm using a sprite to represent my whole town here. Obviously you would probably be using a tile map yourself. Now to make the day-night cycle work, I'm using a timer with the timeout node, or the timeout signal, connected to the script. And I have a color rec, which is representing our day and night representation. Now, for the day, I would recommend that, of course, you're going transparent with this, you're going light, but I would recommend you add a little bit of yellow in there to show that it's a nice warm day, or maybe add a little bit of blue in there if it is a cold day. Obviously, sunset and sunrise, you're going to add a little bit of orange there to get more of a golden look to it. And for nighttime, I would recommend that you pick a color that's got some blue or purple into it. You don't want to go with just a solid black. You want to add a little bit of blue or purple in. And of course, probably won't be as transparent as your day, but or maybe it is. That's going to be up to you and your decision on how you want to handle that. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into our script. We have our ready function, the process I've already deleted, and we have our function that's connected to our timeout signal. Alright, so what are we going to need? Well, we're going to need an enum for starters, and it's going to keep track of our day state. So this is where we'll have day, night, and if you wanted sunset, sunrise, etc. And if you've never created an enum before, we just type in enum, E-N-U-M, instead of var. We give it the name of the enum. So I'm going to use day state. Typically this is in all caps. And we don't use a colon or equals here. We go straight to our curly braces. And now we can just type in day, comma, and I'm going to drop down to keep it clean, night. Alright, so something that I want to go over here is these states are treated like integers. So these are going to be like state, day is going to be 0, night is going to be 1. If we had sunset and sunrise after night, then that would be 2 and 3. And there are times when you may not want to have that. You may want the actual text in there, so you might actually want the word day or the word night, for example. And I'm just going to let you know to access that, because it is important, because that's what we're going to be using here. And that's going to make our other variables make more sense. Is we do day state, and then we treat it like a dictionary. So we say dot keys. And after that, we can just do our square brackets and type in the name of our key, right? So 0. And this would give us the string of day. If we had 1, this will give us the string of night. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Just give me a moment. I want to do this projection here. So, okay. Alright, so there we go. That's how we're going to get our day and night name, make the text out of it. So let's take a look at the other variables that we're going to use here. What we want to use our day state. So we're going to create a variable for our current state, and this is going to be the type is going to be a day state, and by default I'm going to make it day state dot day. So I'm starting in the day, you could start at night if you wanted to. The next variable we're going to have is going to keep track of how long each part of our day is, so how long our day is, how long our night is. And again, if you want sunset and sunrise, you simply just add those sections in. So we'll take a look. So we'll say var state length. This is going to be a dictionary. Boom. And we'll have day. And this will go with 15. And we'll have one for night. And we'll go with something like 8, because night is usually shorter than day is. And you can go in, so you can just go comma, drop down, you can do sunset, right? String like that, sunset. And then maybe this is another 6, and so on. So it's very easy for you to add more times of the day in if you wanted to do something like that. Alright, and next I'm going to have my lighting, and this is where my colors are going to be held for each state of my day. Right. So I just have a variable here called lighting, the dictionary, and for day I have my day color, and for night I have my night color. And the same thing if I wanted sunset, sunrise, add those and put those colors in. Alright. So it's going to be important to point out here that my timer is set to 1 shot. That means it's going to count down to 0, and then that's it. It's not going to automatically restart, and it's not going to start my stream or when my day starts, right? When the game starts. And the reason for that is because we're going to set the wait time and everything ourselves. So for this, we're going to start off with getting our color rect and setting its color. Oh, I still have caps on. And I'm going to set that to lighting, and then square brackets. Inside of those square brackets, we're going to have daystate.keys. And obviously the one that we're looking for is our current state. Right, so if we break this down, we're setting our color of our color rect, which is representing our lighting of our day-night cycle. And we're going to set that to our lighting dictionary, right? Because we want to get the color out of there. And the color we're going to get, in our case, is going to be day. So we get that by accessing our day state. And we want the text out of it, string. So we're getting our keys. And the one that we're passing in is our current state, which our current state is set to day by default, which would be 0. So we're basically getting state 0. Oops, right up here, state 0, and we're getting it as a text. So this would be the same thing as if we wrote in lighting. We wrote in lighting day. This is essentially the exact same thing as if we wrote it like that. Only now it's going to be more modular for us, because all we have to do is just change the current state, and we can use the same line of code whatever we need to change the color. Right, so now with our color set, if we were to go ahead and play this, we'll see I now have my nice yellow hue to it. It's very slight. Oh, you could barely notice it in there. And if I were to run this, and you guys can take a look at that, if I turn my color rect on and off, you can see it's noticeable. It's just very slight. So with that, we know our color is working, and we know all of our variables are set up correctly. So the next thing we want to do is we'll set up our timer to actually count down for us. So we can set up our wait time. So let's get our timer dot wait time, and we'll set that equal to, and then similar to before, only we're going to use state length. And I'm just going to copy and paste this in because it's the same thing. All right, inside of our square brackets, daystate.keys, and our current state. So now this is doing the same thing that we did for color, but we're getting the time up here in seconds. So obviously if you want, say, 5 minutes for your day, you would set this to 300. If you want 10 minutes, 600, 15 minutes, 900, and 1200 for 20 minutes. And if you want to go higher than that, simply just do 60 times the amount of minutes that you want. All right, but there you go. There's how we're going to set the wait time. And we know that works because everything's set up. Our lighting and state length is set up the same way. And our lighting works, so there's no reason to believe that our state length wouldn't work. So now that our time has been set, we can go ahead and start the time. Now when our timer times out, we have to make sure that this is working for us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to print out our day. So print, and inside of there, daystate.keys and our current state. All right, so if I were to run this now, we take a look at it. Now we're not going to see anything visually, but if we take a look down in our output, we'll see when day's over, we're going to get night printed out after the 15 seconds, which will be any moment now. All right, so we had day printed out, and that's because we haven't swapped over tonight, right? And we haven't changed the state. Yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But there we go. So we see day printed out, and nothing's going to happen further because we haven't restarted the timer. Okay. So what we're going to do here is going to be highly dependent on the current state, right? Because we need to change the state to the appropriate stage. And then we need to form a transition with our color. So what I'm going to use here is a match statement. And you could use an if statement here, but when we just have one thing like this, I prefer a match. It just looks a little nicer to me personally. So we're going to match current state. And if that current state is state.day, we'll do this code. Else, if it's daystate.night, we'll do this code. And if you're wondering, if you've never used match statements before and you're wondering what happens if none of these match, none of these are correct, we could just use an underscore, which is a wildcard. It's the equivalent of our else in an if statement. So it says if nothing above here matches, run this code. Now for us, we're not going to need that at all for us. We're just going to need the day and night portion here. Now, when it's day, we'll just set the current state to night. So we'll say day state dot night. And then we're going to use a function that I'm going to call transition time. And that's going to handle our colors. I'll go ahead and create that function down here so we can get rid of this error. Whoops. And for our night cycle, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to set it to daystate.day and call our transition time. Now, outside of the match statement, all right, this is where we need to set our wait time and start our time, which is the same thing we already do up here inside of our ready function. So we can just copy that, paste it in, make sure it's lined up. Timer wait time set to our state length, day state keys, current state, and then we start the timer. Now, transition time. This is only going to be 2 lines of code, but it's going to look nicer overall and be a lot easier to debug if we were to have an issue specifically with the transition. We come down here and take a look. All right, so we're going to have one parameter here, and this is going to be a parameter called new time, and that's going to be a color. And yes, it's going to yell at us here because we don't have an argument. That's fine. So we're going to create a tween. Var t equals create tween. Now, I'm going to let you know the reason why we're using tweens here is so we can make this more modular. So let's say you don't want a sunset or sunrise now, but maybe a month into development, maybe you specifically want a sunset and sunrise. You could easily add that in and not have to redo anything. You'd be able to do it with ease. And if we use an animation player, we would have to redo those animations, right? Because we would have to redo a sunrise today animation now, instead of a day to, or a night to day. And now our night to day animation is incorrectly named, right? Because would no longer be going from night to day, we'd be going from night to sunrise, and then sunrise to day, and then day to sunset, sunset to night. So we'd have to redo all those animations. And that's that's going to cost you more development time to add in something so small that shouldn't really cost you anything. So that's why we're going to use the tween setup here, and why we're keeping track of our colors and all of that stuff in our code here. And all we're going to do after we create a new tween is we just have to set it up. So my variable is called p, so I'll do p dot tween property. And the way this works, we're going to select the object that we want to tween, which is going to be our color rect. We're going to select the property in the form of a string. Where that says node path, it's a little confusing. So I'm just going to put in a string color. And the next is how long it's going to take. And how long that's going to take is obviously... this is going to be the final value of our color, which is going to be our new time that we pass in. And then the duration, I'm going to use 3 seconds. I find that works pretty well. So all we need now is a color passed into our function. Well, we have that color. That color is our lighting. So we can go ahead and just paste that in and copy and paste it from our ready function. Lighting, day state, keys, current state. And now if we run this, we're going to set up our color, wait time, so we have daytime set up. We're going to start the timer, 15 seconds. When the timer hits 0, we're going to check the current state. We're going to say, oh, okay, it's daytime. We're going to set our current state to nighttime. Then we're going to call transition time, which is going to transition us to nighttime. Okay, we pass in the color for our night, lighting. Inside of that function, we create a tween, and we tween the property for a nice smooth transition for our color rect from whatever color it is right now to the new color, right? The new lighting that we passed in, and it'll transition over 3 seconds. And now if we were to add sunset or sunrise, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't make any difference. We just have to add in matching our current state and add in a new lighting, a new state length, and a new state. So we just pretty much add a new entry into our variables up there and add a new match, and that's it. That would be it. Just take a few moments. But once we go through that transition, we'll set our wait time to based on our new state, right? Our new state. So for day, we've transitioned to night. Set our wait time to however long our night will last. Then we start the timer again, and we continue this cycle. So now when we run it, see, we're going to sit here in daytime for about 15 seconds, and then we're going to have a smooth transition into nighttime for another 8 seconds, which, I mean, the 3 seconds is kind of taking away from that. So in this case, that 8 seconds is closer to 5 when it's fully transitioned. So if we see we've gone to night, timer reset, we've transitioned back to daytime. And now all we have to do, we can easily add a new daytime slot, and we can go up top and just tweak how long we want each stage to last, how long we want the day to last, how long we want night to last, and if you add sunset and sunrise, how long you want those to last. Alright, that's it. That's all you have to do to add in a simple day-night cycle that is also modular for you to add in more times of the day in the future. Or if you were to add in a weather system, for example, you could tweak your day color to a specific color, I guess you could say. For example, in day state, right? We can come down here, and before we transition, we can have match weather, right? And then come in and be like, oh yeah, sunny. If it's sunny weather, we do this transition. If it's rainy, we do this transition, right? So we can have different colors that way, which when it's rainy, you're probably going to have more of those blues. But it's daytime, so it's going to be more of the lighter blue, whereas nighttime we have darker blues. And that blue is going to give us more of a cold feeling. If it's snowing, we're going to have more of these blues. If it's sunny, we're going to have these warm colors, so yellows and oranges. But there you go. That's how you would add in just a quick weather system as an example. Going in there. So you can see how easily you can add in a weather system to this day-night cycle setup. You see how we can easily add in a new time of day into the setup. So this is very modular in that aspect, and everything is controlled right here for you. All right, before I start rambling on, go ahead and end it there. Simple day-night setup that's easy to add to and modify.